So a pleasant day to each and everyone, especially to our instructor, Mrs. Mylene UDBC. So for this video, I am going to tackle my topic about uh, transfer of learning. So what does transfer of learning mean? So transfer of learning happens when learning in one context or with one set of materials affect performance in another context or with other related materials. So transfer of learning is something that uses your prior learning to a new situation. When one recognizes a situation as something similar in a way to what he has experienced before, his tendency is to use the knowledge and skills he has learned to this new situation. This is what transfer of learning is about. So, just like for example, kamao ka mo gamit og bike. So, in that situation, dako ang possibility nga mas magamit mo ang learning para makamao ka og gamit og motor. So, like that. There are types of transfer of learning. So, first is positive transfer. The second is negative transfer. The third, near transfer. And the last one is far transfer. So, first is positive transfer. So, positive transfer occurs when learning in one context improves performance in some other context. So, just like for example, for instance, learning to play the piano helps when learning other musical instruments. So, if ever kung makaibaw ka og gamit og any musical instrument, so pwede nimo ma-transfer imong learning para mao ka og gamit sa lain nga instrument. So pwede sad if kung makamao ka og istorya og language ay Tagalog language, so pwede nimo ma-share sa uban para mas or pwede nimo matudlo sa uban para mas ma-transfer imong gikamahuan. Okay, now let's move on to negative transfer. So, negative transfer occurs when learning in one context impact negatively on performance in another. So, just like for example, driving on right-sided vehicles hinders learning to adapt on left-sided vehicles. So, in this situation, ang imong learning is something nga ma-delay tungod kay dili siya suitable kung unsa imuhang prior learning. So next is near transfer learning. So refers to transfer between very similar contexts. So just like for example, when students answer types of algebra word problems in an exam which are similar to what they had in their sheet works. So in this situation, the students will be able to realize mas kung saan nila pag-apply ang ilang prior learning to a real situation. So next is far transfer learning. So refers to transfer between contexts that on appearance seem remote and alien to one another. So just like for example, learning to play a chess and directing actual military operations. In this situation, you will learn something about strategy, teamwork, and sacrifice. So something like that and far transfer. So why it is important? So, nga importante ang transfer of learning. So if there were no transfer, students need to be taught every craft that they would even perform in any situation. So kung wala transfer of learning, so tagsa-tagsaon ang there is a possibility nga tagsa-tagsaon og pasabot ang students, which is maka-cost og ang dako nga time. So transfer, dakong tabang ang transfer of learning tungod kay mas madali ang pagkat-on sa students ug labi na pud sa ubang tao kay there's instance nga pwede man ma-share sa uban ang ilang learning sa uban nga tao. So that is all about transfer of learning.
So, good evening everyone. How are you today? Okay, good. So now we're done discussing the meaning of transfer learning. Let's now proceed to conditions and principles of transfer. So, principles that are based on the factors that affect transfer of learning, also called conditions of transfer by Perkins. So, first column is conditions, factors affecting transfer of learning. First, similarity between two learning situations. So, principles of learning, meaning the more similar imong ma-encounter nga situation, the more nga ma-apply or ma-transfer imong nakatunan sa first situation to second nga sitwasyon nga imong na experience. Nya sa implications is, as a teacher, maghimo ka og mga task nga similar nga imong i-involve imong mga students. For example, maghatag kag activity. Unya, next is performance task. Nya napoy nga related, ang imong task is related sa activity na nga naapod sila'y similarity. In that way, maka-realize or makaingon ang students, hala, pareha ra man is performance task ug activity nga gihatag ni ma'am. So, tungod ana ma-transfer ilang learning gikan sa activity ngadto sa performance task nila. Next is number 2. Conditions or factors affecting transfer of learning. So, degree of meaningfulness, relevance of learning. So, principles of transfer ani niya, meaningful learning leads to greater transfer than rote learning. So, ang implication is, remember to provide opportunities for learners to link new materials to what they learned in the past. So, as a teacher, maghatag kag opportunities sa mga students nga pinaagi sa ilang prior knowledge or past learning, maka-create sila og new things or new discoveries. So, mauto siya sa number 2 nga conditions affecting learning transfer. So, the third one is length of instructional time. So, the longer the time spent in instruction, the greater the probability of transfer. So, meaning, this suggests that the more time someone spends learning or receiving instruction, the higher the likelihood that they'll effectively apply or transfer that knowledge to practical situation or context. Essentially, prolonged exposure to learning increases the chances of successfully using that knowledge elsewhere. So, the implication is To ensure transfer, teach a few topics in depth rather than many topics tackled in shallow manners. So, this statement emphasizes the importance of depth over breadth in learning. It suggests that focusing deeply on a few topics rather than skimming through many subjects leads to better understanding and higher chances of applying that knowledge in various situations. So, it's about quality and depth of learning rather than just covering numerous topics superficially. So, mo to siya sa number 3 nga conditions of affecting learning transfer.
Hello everyone, I am Shelo Avenido, and now we're going to continue to discuss the discussion of Miss Rubin, which is the conditions and principles of transfer. Now the fourth one is the variety of learning experiences. So the principles of transfer for this is the exposure to many and varied examples and opportunities for practice encourages transfer. And the implication is illustrate new concepts and principles with a variety of example. So this suggests that skills and knowledge acquired in one context can be applied or transferred to another. So it emphasizes that exposure to diverse learning situations enhances a person's ability to apply their knowledge and skills across different scenarios. By engaging in various learning experiences, individuals can develop a more adaptable and flexible understanding, enable them to transfer their learning to new and unfamiliar situations. And for the fifth one, we have the context for learners' experiences. The principles of transfer is it happened when learners discovered that what they learned is applicable to various contexts. And the implication is relate a topic in one subject to topic in another subject. Relate it also in a real life situations. So for example, if someone learns a skill in a highly controlled and simulated environment, the challenge is ensuring they can effectively apply that skill in a real-world, uncontrolled setting. So, therefore, providing learning experiences that resemble the actual situation where the knowledge or skills will be used enhances the successful transfer. Now, let's proceed to the sixth factor. The sixth one is focus on principles rather than tasks. Principles of transfer is principles transfer easier than facts. Then the implication for this is zero in on principles related to each topic together with strategies based on those principles. So this suggests that learning should emphasize understanding underlying principles or concepts rather than merely memorizing specific tasks. So this enable learners to apply their knowledge flexibly across various situations. Then, just like for instance, instead of memorizing a specific procedure for a task, learners focus on understanding the principles guiding that procedure. So this facilitates better problem-solving skills as learners can apply the principles to new situations. And the last factor is the emphasis on metacognition. So the principles of transfer is the student reflection improves transfer of learning. Then the implication is encourage students to take responsibility for their own learning. So this recognizes that learners who are aware of their own cognitive strategies and can adapt them are more likely to transfer their learning effectively across different contexts. When individuals understand how they learn and approach problem solving, they are better equipped to apply their knowledge and skills in various situations. So, the conditions and principles of transfer play a crucial role in the effectiveness of learning that go beyond rote memorization. They contribute to a development of adaptable, reflective learners who can navigate real-world challenges with a deeper understanding of the concept they have acquired. And that's all, everyone. Thank you.